Interest rates are at historic lows, under 3% for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. So despite the various tragic implications of COVID-19, it can be a great time to buy if you're in the right situation. Here are 5 things buyers should consider in the time of COVID. Hi, I'm Andrew Scannell. This is Life.0, and here are 5 things buyers should consider in the time of COVID. Number 1, is your employment secure? Lenders are being more careful with loans, including rechecking your employment immediately before closing. So be honest with yourself. Do you feel confident in your job, not just right now, but for the next few years? You don't just need to qualify for a mortgage, you also need to be able to continue to pay for it. Talk to your lender about any situations you might face that might impact the purchase, including temporary layoffs or other changes in your financial situation. Talk with your lender early in the process, even before making an offer. Consider the pros and cons of moving forward with your purchase in light of world economic changes. Number 2, virtual property tours. COVID has basically pushed the real estate industry kicking and screaming into the 21st century. One example of this is the vastly increased use of virtual tours. In addition to reducing the risk of spreading the virus, it allows buyers to view a property from the comfort of their own home. Why take an hour out of your evening or weekend to visit a property that you immediately realize isn't going to work for you? Let the lowly real estate agent do it. I'm kidding. Sort of. Screen the home by requesting the agent to give you an online tour in lieu of your initial visit. Most agents are using virtual tours now already, hopefully, but even if they aren't, just ask the agent to film a quick tour for you or do a Zoom tour. It's their job to try and sell the property for the sellers. Number 3, COVID contingencies. Get familiar with the contingencies that could protect you and the various amendments to contracts that have been put in place in regards to COVID. Basically, all brokerages have been racing to produce forms to limit the liability of both sellers and buyers and brokerages, and also have produced amendments to contracts to allow for potential delays that may arise from a COVID-related situation. Those amendments to contracts encompass government delays due to lockdowns or a potential delay in the buyer's ability to obtain financing due to a COVID-related concern. These delays are not just limited to the buyer and seller. They could affect the local registry, appraisers, notaries, the attorney, the fire department. You might need to get a smoke detector inspection from the fire department. So amendments to contracts have been put in place to provide for these situations. It's good to get familiar with those and potentially calm any fears you might have going into the process. It's good to understand those so you're aware of what protections there are for you as you enter into a purchase process. Sometimes in offer situations, 2 different brokerages will have 2 different versions of those forms, and they don't always agree to use the other party's form. Just talk with your attorney to make sure you're protected should something unexpected come up. Number 4, expect delays. Piggybacking off of COVID contingencies, and by the way, who wants to get on a pig's back? Really? Other than the baby monkey. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's a famous YouTube video. There's a link in the description below. Anyway, sounds awful, getting on a pig's back. Understand that delays in closing timelines may be inevitable. Jumbo loans are taking longer to close. I've heard of some jumbo loans requiring 2 appraisals, for instance. If you're selling a property and buying a new property, I would highly recommend to not have that closing on the same day. That could be very nerve-wracking right now. If one deal gets delayed, it could cause a world of problems for your purchase. Number 5, save your cash. Obviously, saving money in order to buy a property is not exactly news. I work in a competitive urban market, Greater Boston. In my market, having a 20% cash down payment to your mortgage is basically the bare minimum. In fact, in many situations, it's not even competitive. That might be harsh, but it is simply the reality. Virtually nobody is getting an offer accepted with a 10% cash down payment and a 90% loan in my market, unless the property has been sitting on the market for a couple of months, which is also rare. If you find yourself realizing that you may not have enough cash to be competitive in your market, double down over the next several months and try and save as much money as you can, or spend some time trying to figure out who you can borrow it from. Many times in a competitive offer situation, it's not so much that the winning offer had such a standout price as it was that they just had stronger terms. Having more cash and a smaller loan is always more preferable to a seller. For example, if you make an offer with a 30% cash, 70% loan, that is likely to beat out an offer with a 20% cash, 80% loan, even if the 20% cash offer is slightly higher, because the terms are better. It's more secure. It's less of a worry for the seller. So save that money. Okay, here's a bonus number 6. Quick thoughts on multifamily houses. If you're in the market for a multifamily house, keep an eye out, because many of those properties simply haven't been able to be listed. They haven't been listed because if they have tenants in them, they haven't been able to be shown. And for good reason, no one's health should be risked just to sell a property. So if you're looking to buy a multifamily, keep an eye on the news, because when those restrictions are in place, I expect to see a lot more multifamily property listings. All in all, if you're in the right situation, it can be a great time to buy right now. Look for the silver lining, like historic low interest rates and the fact that there are simply fewer buyers out there to compete with. I'll be posting another video soon with things you can do to improve an offer without spending more money, so keep an eye out for that. Okay, there are 6 things to consider during the time of COVID. If you have any thoughts, questions, gripes, any feedback on my quarantine haircut, please leave them in the comments below. Gently tap that subscribe button. This has been Life.0. Now you know, and that's the show. Peace.